Hello. Before we start today's episode, if you would like a condensed version of what I'm talking about in this podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the Perfectionist Guide. You can read the entire thing in 3 minutes or less. To access this, go to CourtneyLoveGavin.com/newsletter. Are you a bit of a perfectionist? Type A, hyper performer? Then you know that having the audacity to see an ideal and bring it into reality while breaking generational habits of hustle can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. If you are ready to burn bright instead of burning out, to lead without losing yourself, and to enjoy the life you have worked so hard to create, then keep listening. I'm your host, America's leader on rewiring perfectionism, CLG, and this is Perfectionism Rewired, the podcast. Welcome to Perfectionism Rewired. Today, we are talking about a technique for stress, worry, anxiety, and catastrophizing that combines three of our favorites as perfectionists: productivity, control, and planning. It's a little bit unconventional, but it works, and it works fast. And for my perfectionist parents, this technique is super helpful for kids, especially if they tend to be on the more nervous side or if they have trouble falling asleep. This practice is going to improve the health of their nervous system. And also, this practice is going to allow you to manage stress better throughout your day-to-day while still being able to be present. A little story for you before I share what it is. My default setting is panic and terror. I'm not into diagnoses unless you find them empowering, but technically I have complex PTSD. Worry would consume me. I had panic attacks from an early age. I think 5 years old. I got to the point where I was maxed out on my anxiety medication and I just wasn't functioning the way that I wanted to. It was affecting work. It was affecting my relationships. And I just didn't want to be such a stress ball anymore. So I gave this technique that I'm going to share with you a shot, and it worked incredibly well. I haven't been on anxiety medication in at least a decade, and I haven't had an anxiety attack in, 5-6 years. I talked about that in an earlier podcast episode about the neurobiology of anxiety. The reason why this works especially well is because when it comes to stress, panic, worry, catastrophizing, two problems with perfectionists tend to occur. One, your worry compounds. You're very reactionary. Maybe you yell at your kids, you make a careless mistake, you lose things. You feel like you are a victim of your perfectionism and your anxiety. I have a whole chart I go through when you work with me of the quadrant of perfectionists, and 3 of the quadrants are prisoners, puppets, or being held hostage. We don't want any of that for you. We don't want you to be a prisoner. We don't want you to be a puppet and feel anxiety is pulling your strings. We also don't want you to feel that you are held hostage. I want you to be an owner in charge. This technique will allow you to do that. The other thing that happens, and this is where most perfectionists go wrong, you are not completing your stress response. And when we don't complete a stress response, it gets stored in our body. That is not normal for us as living creatures. A really great book about this is called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. I'll put a link for it in the show notes. One of the things that I give you when you work with me one-on-one inside Perfectionism Optimized, Perfectionism Leveraged is simple practices so that you can complete the physiological movement of a stress response or something that you're worried about. That is what starts to rewire your nervous system and form pathways with your unconscious that says, hey, I can complete things, I can discharge things, I can move things, and I can create space and safety for myself. Now I have space to breathe. Now I have space to think. And what a difference that makes in our lives. Today, especially when we're stressing over things, we're not able to take action and to move into any kind of a sense that the stress response is able to complete it. And the more inaction that we take, the more of these emotions and these experiences get built up inside us. And the bigger your amygdala, the alarm system of your brain gets, that says, oh my goodness, this is a threat and I'm not going to do anything about it. And it just gets stored in our bodies. We don't metabolize that stress. That's, what creates catastrophizing a lot of the time. If you are catastrophizing, like what we talked about on episode 188, if you are imagining all the bad things that might happen in the future, that takes immense creativity and proactivity. Just think about all the wild places that your mind goes when it worries. It's kind of amazing. At the heart of it, when we simplify it, worrying is an action that your mind is taking when you feel anxious or stressed. And what we're doing with this technique I'm going to share with you is we're going to give you a different action that is actually more useful and that is going to decrease your stress and increase your calm in the long run. The magical thing about this is that you will begin to see that you have immense power over your actions. You will go from that quadrant of feeling like a puppet, a hostage, or a prisoner into the beautiful, rich green quadrant of being owner. As I'm saying this for you, I'm actually going to put a link in the show notes. If you go on Pinterest, I have visuals of everything on the podcast, but I'm going to drop in a visual of what this quadrant looks like so you can see the rich green region, that owner quadrant, and you are going to see that you get to influence where your brain spends time. Most of the time, it's going into worry and catastrophizing because of how powerful and creative you are. You just haven't told it or trained it how to do anything else. So the technique is the worry window, also called worry time. What happens is that you pick a designated time every day, do it every day for at least the first 21 days, where you give yourself the bandwidth to worry. As things pop up, you make a note of it and you park it for later. And then you're able to get on with your day knowing that you have a specific time to worry, which increases your self-trust and your self-esteem because you are building a reputation with your unconscious and your subconscious that when you say that you're going to do something for yourself, you honor it. Worry window actually came to my attention as I was driving my kid's friend, and the kid said, I'm nervous about this, but I'm doing my best to only think about it during my worry window. And I was like, what's your worry window? The kid told me what it was, thought that it was so beautiful that here these kids were 6-year-olds and they were talking about their mental wellness like it was no big deal. And here this kid was that has a tool that is like helping him. And this particular tool is so easy and so helpful that like 6-year-olds can use it. But it is also increasingly helpful for perfectionists because when the worries come up, you are taking that simple action, even if it's just you writing it down, which shows your unconscious that you have the power to reduce your anxiety. Why does the worry window work so well to calm you almost instantly and to reduce your stress by like 50% in 21 days? One, it helps you complete the stress cycle. Two, it shows all of your parts and all of your minds that you are in control. You become an owner. It also makes it so that you are more likely to either solve what worries about you, or when you write it down and you don't worry about it immediately, you might look at your list and be like, I actually don't need to freak out about this anymore, because a lot of times it gets resolved in between when the worry came up and your actual worry window. It also gives you containment, an allotted time where you get to keep your stressors contained throughout the day, which gives you better focus and an anxiety-free presence. The worry window also helps minimize the effects of anxiety and stress on your body. So like you reduce cancer cells. It helps you sleep better. It helps your GI system function better. It gives you better skin. It's anti-aging. The worry window is just such such an amazing tool. If you or your children stress or worry at all, then like using the worry window, it's a non-negotiable. Just do it. The practical side of this. So how do I do a worry window? Well, I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do a worry window because you are as unique as your fingerprint and so is your perfectionism. If you work with me one-on-one, I will give you lots of resources and practices that you can do as we partner together to rewire your perfectionism. But what I can give you is some practical parameters to set around it. You want to do it somewhere where you're not going to be interrupted. The amount of time that you can do it for, no longer than an hour and no shorter than 15 minutes. You want to set an alarm on your phone so you don't go over. It's really important that you stop at the end of the time that you've scheduled. If you're someone that struggles with time management, then like bookend it so that you have to stop it, so that like you have to go pick your kids up. I would also recommend to have something that you enjoy being the bridge for you to transition you out of worry time. It could be like 5 minutes looking at your favorite TikToker, reading a magazine, picking up a treat from Starbucks, going into your garden for 5 minutes, something for you to look forward to reward yourself as you're establishing this new habit. Study after study shows that the best way to create new habits is to schedule it and do it at the same time every day, because then you reduce your cognitive load of when am I going to do this? But don't get into that all or nothing thinking of like, oh, well, I told myself I'm going to do it every day at 3:30 p.m. and I didn't do it at 3:30 p.m. today, so I'm just going to do it tomorrow. Homie, don't play that. For your worry window, choose an uncomfortable spot, like the floor, a hard chair, a stair, a bench, a curb. You want to be somewhere where you're not going to be tempted to stay longer than the allotted time. Avoid using your bed, your couch, or your desk, because what will happen is unconsciously you will begin to associate those places with stress, which will make it harder to sleep, relax, or to work there. During your scheduled worry time, I want you to worry hard. Okay, think about it like a high intensity interval training for all of your worries and stresses and panic time. And when your time is up, I want you to stop immediately. No more of that 1 more minute stuff. And then get back to your day. And if you find yourself worrying throughout the day, just remind yourself that, guess what? I have a time for worry and I will do it then, not now. If you want to get results faster, write your worries down on paper. Don't keep them in your head. When you write things out by hand, it's a more deliberate process. Confine your thinking speed to the speed of writing. You will have fewer worried thoughts. So that means for you, overall, less anxiety. The only time I would recommend you don't schedule this is right before you go to sleep, because it's good to have a little bit of a transition activity in between. Also, you don't have to do this sitting down. You can do worry walks. What you can do instead of writing it down is you could voice note yourself and then like throw it into Otter and get it transcribed. A more advanced technique of the worry window is when you go into the theater of your mind and you actually Missy Elliott flip it and reverse it, and you use that time to imagine the best case scenarios and beyond your wildest dreams. If we work together one-on-one, it's something we will customize for you. It is incredibly powerful and just straight up fun is what might tell me. You get to learn how to redirect all of your power and creativity to what you actually want in your life. A really awesome analogy for this is to think of it like potty training your perfectionism and your panic. If you were going number 1 and number 2 all over the place and you did not have a diaper, that is what is happening right now if you are letting yourself catastrophize, worry, panic, and you don't have a designated contained worry window to do that in on the daily. I know sometimes you feel the urge to go to the bathroom and you don't crap your pants. So if you can manage not to crap your pants, you can totally manage to worry within a specified worry window. If you have younger children, you know how they're like, mom, or dad, or whatever parenting name you go by. If you ignore them, they just get increasingly loud. But then if, like, let's say you're on the phone and you'll say, I'll talk to you as soon as I'm done, they will be calmed and they will go back to what they're doing. if you honor what you told them, right? If your child wises up and is like, my mom never comes and sees me after she's done on the phone, so that's why I need to scream and get her attention right now, you want to make sure that with your subconscious, you show up. Even if you have a day and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so peaceful, I don't need to worry about anything, still show up. You can decide not to do it, but what we don't do is we don't blow ourselves off. When you don't show up for it, your subconscious, it's never going to believe you when you say you'll deal with it later. It won't let you slow down or calm down. It defeats the purpose of the worry window. As you show up for this more and more, you will find that you need it less and less. When we coach together one-on-one, you'll find that instead of using it as a worry window, you can use it as your triumph time, creating the possibilities in your life that you actually want. A question I get a lot of the time is, well, isn't this going to make me worry more? The analogy that I use, if your personal trainer told you to lift some weights and then you said, I want to get stronger, won't lifting the weights make me weaker and more tired? It's the same concept. In the very short term, lifting weights will make you tired, but in the long run, lifting weights is how you build strength. So in the worry window, yeah, you worry and you stress out during that time, but in the long run, you're going to get stronger and you're not going to need it as much. You've probably found out by now, if you want your perfectionistic mind to stop bombarding you with worries throughout the day, you can't yell at yourself to be like, calm down or stop worrying. It also doesn't work if you convince it logically because the worries are illogical. But what you can do is you potty training it so that it worries during the window. And this is why we schedule time to worry on purpose. Over time, you will find yourself catastrophizing and worrying a lot less at other points throughout your day because your brain is learning to worry at the right time. It's just like potty training. It's like, oh, we go to the bathroom and the toilet. It's literally the same thing. I don't want worry to dilute or dampen all of your days, which is why I highly recommend the worry window. I still use this. In order to see a reduction, you want to do this for 14 to 21 days, do it consistently. And if all you want for Christmas is calm, I invite you to come and work with me one-on-one. You can learn all about that by going to CourtneyLoveGavin.com/services and just watch with amazement as your anxiety goes down. Listen up. Taking charge of your perfectionism is so much easier than you have been led to believe. Whether you want to stop playing out worst case scenarios in your head or be joyfully present, ambitious again, you don't need more rigid rules, guesswork, or hard work in perfectionism recovery. You need a framework that helps you understand and, most importantly, rewire your perfectionistic habits from the inside out. It starts with my 6-week Perfectionism Rewired Accelerator. Besides the obvious mental health and wellness benefits, rewiring your perfectionism is the fastest way to figure out what's really underneath your perfectionistic patterns. This radically different, proven, proprietary approach helps you succeed by dropping the contempt and judgment that blocks change. Discover how to trust yourself, take control of your world, and feel truly empowered to own your perfectionism instead of being owned by it. Head on over to CourtneyLoveGavin.com/accelerator and start your transformation today.